right, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kim Knox, president of the League of Women Voters of San Diego. Okay, so today we are here to talk about voter empowerment. So the League is a nonpartisan organization. It has been that way for 104 years, since we were formed in 1920. That means that we never support or oppose candidates or political parties. The four main efforts of our voter empowerment are voter registration and increasing turnout, candidate forums, speakers bureau, and the Vote 411 online voter guide. We coordinate requests, we do scheduling and logistics, we provide training, and we produce written presentations and other materials and programs. The busy season for elections in 2024 will be right now through early March and in September to early November. For today's meeting, we'll be hearing from speakers about these programs until 11:15. You'll hear about the purpose of each one, the volunteer needs, and upcoming opportunities. Then we'll have a brief Q&A before going into breakouts, which will last until 11:45. Julianne C. will lead our Vote 411 online voter guide discussion. Jean Widener, raise your hand, tabling and voter registration. Jane Andrews will handle candidate forums. Sheila Toll, Speakers Bureau, and I will address democracy dollars and general information. Now, I would like to introduce our admin, Jessica Fry. This is the first live event, I think, since she began work for the League in October. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, for that introduction. Wow, I'm very excited to be here. It is fantastic to see such a phenomenal turnout. And let me just say that time is our most valuable asset. So to see you all here giving your time to see how you can support the League and the work that we're going to do, that really inspires me. And it tells me that we're all here in the right place and the right time to do some great work together. So I'll give you a little brief kind of background about who I am and where I came from. I studied communication studies in Texas with a focus on rhetorical analysis, and I had minors in psychology and political science. I really wanted to get into kind of the nonprofit sector, promoting civic engagement or kind of influencing legislation. And I ended up taking a turn as I was headed into graduation to, I wanted to pursue a commission as an officer in the United States Marine Corps. So I took a little bit of a turn, and I just finished a 4-year active duty tour as a communication strategy and operations officer. Thank you. I don't know if we have any other veterans in the room, but thank you for your service. So I was a communication strategy and operations officer, which is a fancy way of saying I was a public affairs officer who did spent a lot of time doing communication planning, strategic communication planning, and training our strategic communication specialists how to tell a story, how to shape a narrative through photo, video, storytelling, and social media. I didn't do a lot of public speaking because I absolutely hate public speaking, if you can't tell. So they usually just sat me in the office. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for the time that you're giving today. We don't really have a lot of it. So I know you're not here because you have time to give, you're here because you have heart to give. And I'm really excited to meet all of you and to talk about the great work that we can do together.
Thanks, Jessica. We're very glad you're here. So I'm Jane Andrews, and in addition to candidate forums, I'm also events person, and I'm part of the membership committee. So I want to take a moment in the membership hat, because we just don't have that many events where we're all together. And I think getting to know each other is also part of this. So what I'd like to do is have the members of the board of the League stand up, because I think it's really important for everyone to know who they are. Our hardworking current board, Donna Bartlett-May is our secretary. Anyway, our treasurer is out there in red shirt. Wendy Young, Kim, and Linda Frew. And me. So thank you. Now I also want to ask any past board members to stand up. Chris Hageman deserves some special recognition because she's one of our tech gurus who we couldn't manage without. Now, I'd like anyone who's been new in 2023, you have a 2023 on your name tag, to please stand up. I'm not going to introduce all of you, but isn't this great? Now, are there any other members? Oh, I know. There's people. Was Ann Hoiberg? Are you still here? Okay. You need to stand up as a past board member. You did. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get recognized. Okay. And then one other person who's really a big part of our team I want to recognize is Chris Schaefer, who is our devoted. For people to see these events afterwards. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Julianne.
My name is Julie Ann C., and my day job is actually another volunteer gig. I'm the president of the San Diego Master Chorale, and we just last year we hired our first executive director. So as a primarily volunteer organization, I see a parallel, and I'm so happy to see that the League of Women Voters San Diego has also invested in their mission capacity by hiring an executive director, and donations would be welcome. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Vote 411. First, I mentioned we are a volunteer-driven organization primarily. There's a sign on the piano here that says, "Please do not place items on the piano, thank you," which reminded me of Oscar Wilde's observation that in the Old West, there was often a sign in the saloon that would say, "Please don't shoot the piano player, he's doing the best he can." And that's part of the adventure of being a volunteer on some of our projects. Vote 411 is not perfect yet, but it'll get there. And it's part of a tradition of really more than 100 years of the League of Women Voters providing nonpartisan, impartial election information so that people can cast an informed ballot. Formerly, the California League of Women Voters was using Vote 411, which was a partnership with another nonprofit who wasn't able to, Voters Edge, which wasn't, that partnership was very successful for 10 years, and they just weren't able to continue to be part of that. So the California leagues have moved to the Vote 411 site, which also has the huge advantage of a really big, nationally supported public relations operation and marketing. Sometimes people aren't familiar with 411. What does that mean? Like 911, 411 was one of those numbers you could dial, and it was for information. So Vote 411 is for information. In California, we are supporting 37 California counties. We did support Imperial for a while, but we weren't able to continue that. Anywhere in California, you can get the statewide information, but the local information is focused in these counties, and we have a team of over 100 volunteers who are helping to make that happen. This is what the site looks like when you go to vote411.org, and you can register to vote, you can check your registration, you can also find what's on your ballot, and that's where the volunteer opportunities are. In addition to the contests on your ballot, we also have support of the measures. There's a statewide, there's Proposition 1, and then in San Diego County there are 3 measures on the ballot if you live in that jurisdiction. So the city of San Diego has Measure A, which It has to do with the legal counsel for the city auditor. And then there's a school bond measure in Mountain Empire Unified School District. And then there's this tiny community services district that every few years they try to put another parcel tax for road maintenance. And it usually just loses by about 5 votes. So we'll see. So again, you can call up information on the measures. And for the candidates, you'll see a photo and you can check the box, and then at the bottom of the page will be their information. I'm pleased to report not all candidates are participating yet, but our candidate who's here today is participating. Positive reinforcement. And also followed the directions on the cropping of the photo. Yes. So this particular, when you don't see the photo, usually that's a volunteer opportunity. We can call the candidate and say, hey, did we have the right email to send you your login credentials? People are looking at the site. Can you please fill that out and tell us about your priorities and your qualifications? And there are some more substantive questions that have been developed either by the League of Women Voters California, or locally we had some questions for more down ballot contests. So volunteer opportunity number 1, as I mentioned, is to be a little bit evangelical and call the candidates who are not yet participating and encourage them to fill out their profiles. Sometimes we just don't have the right email address, or they'll say, oh no, you need my campaign manager's address instead. And the time commitment is pretty minimal. You just have like a brief training, you get a script, you get frequently asked questions, and we'll be having 1-hour shifts at your convenience. We'll email out the invitations and reminders, and then we'll try to follow that up pretty soon with a telephone call. Then there's volunteer opportunity number 2 is the research team. Many candidates do not release any contact information with the registrar of voters, and so then we have to kind of stalk them online to figure out how to contact them in social media, or so that can be a little strenuous, and it's good to have a team doing that. But when you find somebody and get their email, immediate gratification there. It's also helpful to have people who subscribe to different newspapers, just keeping an eye on things and letting me know, did you know that this candidate has dropped out? And that's good to verify in a source like a newspaper or their campaign website, rather than just taking a competitor's word for it, which is sometimes how we find out these things. Again, there's not a whole lot of training, but it's really helpful. So if you're interested in maybe adopting a contest or a part of the county and kind of keeping an eye on things, that's very helpful. And then the really fun volunteer opportunity is to be a local coordinator, affectionately nicknamed a loco. And you get to log into the back end of the system. The front end is what everybody in the public sees. The back end is where we enter the information. You can be a spammer. You can send out those bulk emails to the candidates that fill in their name and their information. Also, sometimes a candidate will badmouth an opponent, which is not in accordance with the League's civility guidelines. And so then we need to highlight the offending sentences and say, could you please reword these in the next 48 hours, or else we'll have to delete those. And usually the candidates are quite happy to comply. I've been doing this since 2016 with Voters Edge, and I can really count on one hand the times I got any kind of pushback. It's usually, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read the guidelines carefully, and it's fine. The measures are also sometimes we'll get what we call a bad PDF, which is the kind that is a photo, so you can't just grab and copy and paste the text. There's a little typing involved, so it's nice to have some people to say, hey, would you mind transcribing this? And then we can get it into the system more easily. This has a bigger time commitment. There are 2 hours for the technical training, and then it's about 2 to 3 hours a week to just monitor a special email address just for Vote 411, because generally when you contact a candidate, you get auto-enrolled in all their updates. And for, this can be quite a lot of email that you maybe don't want in your main email account. And then anybody can help if you use the site. If we have a public email address, then we'll publish it there, and you can contact the person and say, hey, been looking at your profile on Vote 411. I don't see your answer to this question. I'm really interested in that. Can you please submit your information? And that really reinforces that this is an important tool. With Voters Edge, we counted the number of individual computer contacts, so we weren't counting the same person more than once. And that number it constituted about 1/9 of the people who cast ballots in November 2022. So it's not a majority, but it's a big number. And the fact that we are free and we're helping candidates to get their message to the voters without regard to what their campaign war chest looks like is really helpful. 2 things you won't see on Vote 411 that you might be used to if you used Voters Edge is those beautiful pie charts that showed where the campaign finance was coming from. It was so helpful, especially that year when we had the 2 plastic bag propositions, and you could see, oh, look at all the out-of-state money, and ooh, the top 10 funders are plastic bag companies. Okay, maybe this isn't the environmental boon that it's presenting itself as. And then you also won't see in the primary election, you won't see the party central committee candidates, because those tended to really increase our workload by probably 5 times, and there was a very low participation rate. So we were sorry, because sometimes you don't know anything about these people, and there's no news coverage, but at the same time, we had limited volunteer time, and it's a new system, and we're trying to support Spanish as well, and so we're just kind of feeling our way, and we thought, yeah, we'll make this a little more manageable. I'm not sure if you're designed for questions at this point, or if we should move on.
I think we should hold them, just move through.
Yeah, we'll have an opportunity to
breakouts.
Okay.
You can see the signs.
Yeah. All right. So I can. Thank you. Jean Weiner.
All right. Thanks, Julianne. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking your time on this beautiful Saturday morning to spend some time with us. Voter registration, of course, is at the heart of what the League does. But since we are a motor voter state, and everyone who gets a driver's license here is often be automatically registered to vote, we have been changing our emphasis to be more efficient in registering voters to 2 particular groups of people. One of them is high schools, get the students as they're ready to turn 18, interested. And the second, we've also done it at libraries, and this has been a less efficient way to do it, but we also feel that we need to have voter engagement and get our name out there and get people to get out to vote. But we're also focusing on parole centers and jails, because the passage of Prop 17 a couple of years ago now allows anyone who's on parole to re-register to vote and participate in their civic engagement. And then, of course, we also do special requests, and we have a table at PolitiFest, and we have tables at other events, college fairs, and that sort of thing that have asked us to come. So, what do we need? How can you help? We do have a voter registration training, particularly for you to understand how to fill out the voter registration form, the affidavit, and we also have a tabling kit, which has all of the information and materials that we'll be putting out for people to see or take with them, and I'll be demonstrating that at our breakout session. But it is primarily your help is to help voters check their status and then help them register, as well as tell them about the events that the league is doing and how we can help in their effort to be civically engaged. So the typical commitment is usually about a 2-hour shift. We try to keep it in 2-hour shifts. Most of the time that's in the entire event that we have. We usually always try to have a couple of people there to support each other. And then in order to participate, we do have sign-ups on our league website. And once you indicate your interest, we can send you that link where you can sign up on our league website. Some of our upcoming opportunities. One of our members, Marty Emerald, who is also on the district council of Sweetwater High School District, has helped to organize a great opportunity that begins this week and is going to continue throughout the school year with an event generally about once a week. And we will be interacting with high school students, as well as we also hope to interact with their families and with their continuing education events that are sponsored by the school district. So the first one starts this Thursday at Chula Vista High School, and then they're repeating it on Friday, and then from there on they're spending 1 or 2 days at each of the other high schools to register students there. 2 other opportunities that we have scheduled is for February 2nd at the Las Colinas Reentry Facility, which is an all-women's incarceration in Santee. And then there's the East Mesa Reentry Facility on Thursday, February 8th, where we will be going there to register voters who are eligible to vote. So, again, we'll have a little breakout session with voter registration in the back, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about that. And here's Jane Andrews.
Okay, candidate forums. It's really exciting for me to be candidate forum chair because I've always enjoyed them so much. And as many of you know, I lived in Massachusetts during most of my life, and they're done exactly the same way there as we do them here. There is a league format that really makes a difference. Let me just see. Okay. Before I get into the slide, I just want to acknowledge a few people. One is Wendy Young, who's my buddy in running candidate forums. And then the other is Vicki Riggs, who has run the candidate forums for umpteen years here. So anyway, the candidate forums are really fun. You really get a sense of the candidates. And I think that I want to tell you a couple of sort of league war stories about this, about what it can be like. And one of my favorite memories was being here in January 2020, before COVID, when we had a forum with 11 candidates at the Chula Vista Library. Gail Mackler was the incredible moderator of all of that, and it was an amazing array of candidates. Sarah Jacobs eventually won that seat, but it shows what we can do in person. And then the other war story is really about the transition with COVID. You know, our brilliant president, Kim Knox, and her family developed a program that we could use to facilitate online forums. And we ended up having 21 forums that year. So it was a real service. And I think those are just sort of, we've got the Zoom version and then the live version. Now, recently, for the last year or so, they've mostly been live, but we can go either way. So let me just see. And I think it's important for you to know they're from the high profile to the lower profile races. We do have congressional, we don't host senatorial, that would be the state that hosts that for SEPI. But we do congressional, state assembly, supervisors, and all kinds of local elections. And we really will do whatever a host group requests within our rules, which are very set for time and civility. I think those are the key themes. So I think the other thing I wanted to say in terms of volunteering is that there's a lot of uncertainty. I have 2 before the primaries, but we could get one all of a sudden, and we might need to jump into gear. And then I think after the March 5th primary, things will be quiet, and then we'll get another real rush in September, and somewhat in October, but since ballots go out a month ahead, we try to do it before that time. The other thing is that we sometimes do put on events just as the league. Mostly, we like to have a host group in the community. It just, it makes a much better working relationship for publicity, etc. But we have been known to do some, and we do some with North County where our jurisdiction overlaps. Okay, so the volunteer roles. The biggest one is being moderator. And as you can see, that's somebody who has comfort with public speaking, certainly comfort with the league script. There is a script, so you don't have to invent it, but there could be situations where you have to set some limits, and being prepared for that. Dana Freehoff has been a moderator. Has anybody else here been a moderator? Donna, of course, Donna Bartlett-May. Yes, she's one of our longest and strongest. The question screeners, it's a role I really like because it involves a lot of think work. So we usually have 2 from the league and then at least 1 from the community group. And this is, what I'm telling you now is really for the in-person events. I'm going to say a little bit about Zoom later. But one of the things is being knowledgeable about the office, going online, thinking about what are the important topics, and then what is the league process is that we take index cards and spread them around out among the audience, and then those index cards are collected and brought to the question screeners, would be roughly here, and then you have to look through those cards, sort of group them according to topic, make some quick decisions about whether they need to be, revised slightly. Some are too long. One of the reasons we have the index cards is so people won't stand up and give a speech and waste people's time or some inappropriate question. So there is sort of sorting them through and then giving them to the moderator. A lot of the question screening is to support the moderator. And the moderator has ultimate discretion about the order, etc. And then the other is the timekeeper. Vicki, you'll be perfect for this. She sits in the front row. And this is a signal to the candidates as to when they need, how much time they have. And believe me, those paddles are used all over the country. So that's a fun role, especially if you're new to the league. You use either your watch or your cell phone, The timing is usually a 2-minute opening and closing remarks, and then 1-minute responses to each of the questions. And then the page is the person who gets to hand out the cards and collect them. So again, if you're new, it's a great role. Okay, I'm going to say a word about on Zoom. So on Zoom, the format is the same, but you do need a little bit of computer comfort, I would say. So we do have this custom website, thanks to Kim, and it's used primarily to kind of sort through the questions, so people can submit questions through the Q&A. However, we have also found that it helps to have some questions going into it. So we do have a meeting with the community group and kind of brainstorm some core questions. And then if we get better ones coming in, we'll bring those in. And Donna has been a master of using the computer program. I think in terms of training, we will train you, we'll give you a lot of support. So don't be afraid of doing a Zoom version. And I might outreach to many of you. And then the timekeeper it's also a program. So, but similar colors and theme. Okay. And we will, let's see, I'm going to be here during the breakout session so I can, answer more questions at that point. So I do have 2 lined up forums. I'm very excited about them. This one on Wednesday, the 24th, just got solidified 2 days ago, so I was glad to get that settled. So one of the things that we did in December was review all the races and give thought to which ones we're going to have elections of significance in the primary. And of course the D4 candidate, city council candidate, jumped out at me because it could be that who wins this March 5th election will be the city councilor. It's Monica Montgomery Stepp's seat. So I did outreach to the Pillars of the Community, which is a group we have worked with on many subjects in the past. So they are co-hosting along with the American Federation of Teachers. And we have a wonderful space at the the theater at the Educational Cultural Center. It's right off the 805. And the candidates are these 3. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them, but I know the Pillars group's very excited about this too. The other is, and Dana has agreed to moderate. Yeah. What we try to do, by the way, with moderators is have somebody who doesn't live in the district of the race. And Vicki Rates is going to be the experienced question screener. So, we're looking, anybody who wants to be a question screener, come to me today and we'll plug you right in. So Monday, February 19th is going to be for District 3 City Council. This is the seat that Steve Whitburn has had, but he's got quite a few opponents here. And Bankers Hill Association is one we've worked with a lot. They know exactly what to do. We don't have to train them at all. And so it's going to be at the Bankers Hill Club. So I'm going to pass this along to June. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Certainly. You could say 2 more things.
Yeah. We do, thanks to Chris Schaefer, video all our live events. So if you can't attend one, it will be on our website. And, I think they're just such wonderful ways to see events. People are picking up on the availability of the videos.
Thank you, Jane. So I'm also going to talk about the Speakers Bureau, which is near and dear to my heart because I am the chair of the Speakers Bureau and have been for a couple of years. How many of you have attended one of our prop talks? Oh, great. I don't have to say anything else. You all know what it's all about. But this is kind of our heart and soul of the Speakers Bureau, is to present the relevant information about all the ballot measures and all the state propositions for the public. they're always very well received. You always have people coming up to you afterwards saying, "Oh, thank God I had somebody explain all of this to me," because it is so hard to read through the lines about what exactly is underlying each of those propositions. So that's our big push during election season. We only have one state proposition, as Julianne mentioned, on the March ballot, and one for the city, and like you said, 2 other for some neighboring communities. So during the primary, the legislature generally just tries not to put too many propositions on the ballot because the turnout in the primary is always lower. So usually most of them get moved to November. We also do other presentations for communities that request it. We've done them on immigration. Beryl is giving a talk on, Beryl Flom, one of our members, is giving a talk on immigration next month. I gave a presentation yesterday on new threats to democracy at the Oasis Center in La Mesa, which was well received. And so we have other topics that we do occasionally during the year when we get special requests from our organizations that would like to hear more about what we can say about civic engagement. So the volunteer needs that we have for the Speakers Bureau is, you don't have to be a public speaker to be part of the Speakers Bureau, for one thing, because we do need researchers. So if you would rather not get in front of an audience, we still welcome your input, because especially for our local ballots or our local measures, we have someone assigned from the public policy, as well as someone from our group that will research the background of each of those measures so that we can give a presentation to the public about it. For the state propositions, our state league takes care of the actual background work, so there is less to do for that. But we also still will assign a member to kind of be responsible for that one, to explain it to the rest of the group and do their own background check just to make sure they understand the proposition well. So if you do want to be a speaker, if you do like to get in front of a room and answer questions and present information, we certainly welcome you, and we need you on the team. You will understand we provide presentation slide decks for all of these, so it's not something that you have to do on your own. You're certainly welcome to help put together the slideshow. We always welcome that. But it's not something that you're not going up there empty-handed. We give you a lot of support when you go to these events. And if you're new to the group, we assign you as a shadow speaker, so that we'd like for you to go to at least 1 or 2 of the presentations where you don't actually have to speak, but you can understand how the process goes. And then sometimes we ask you to screen questions from the audience or bring up questions for the speaker to answer. We do some of these by Zoom. Just to give you an idea of the workload that we have and why we need a lot of volunteers. For the 2020 election, we did everything on Zoom, except for about less than a dozen that were in person in very small venues that some of our members felt comfortable doing. But we had over 60 presentations that we gave. For the mid-year elections, there was not quite as many requests. We got about 40, 45 requests for presentations. So if you are, and sometimes some of our members like to do Zoom more readily, actually, because then you don't have to worry about the technology in front of an audience and getting that set up. You can just sit at your desk at home and press the buttons and advance the slides and talk on the Zoom. So if either one of these, I suspect, last year we had more in person than we did Zoom, and I presume that will be the same this time too. So some upcoming opportunities. So I just want to let you know, to repeat what Julianne said about the 2 ballot measures that are going to be on the primary ballot. But we do have a couple of presentations upcoming even in the next couple of months. We did get one request for the March ballot measures, and I told the group that Well, there's only one state prop. She said, well, what else can you talk about? so that's why we combined that one for the 10th of February. And then we also got another, we've actually gotten 2 requests for October dates for the November ballot measure, so people are already thinking about November. But we did get a request for an early look at the November ballot measures that we're going to be doing in March, because we already know that there are several that have already been approved for the November ballot. So
I want to add that I looked at those that are eligible and circulating yesterday. There are about 40 that are. I mean, it's frightening.
it is. In fact,
Not all of them will qualify, we hope. But
yeah. We were lucky last, for the midterm elections, we only had 7 that qualified, which is the lowest number since 1910 that has been on the ballot. But I don't expect we'll ever get that lucky again. So I think there's already 7 that have been approved, quite frankly, so, for November. Okay, I think that's, yeah. We can hand it over to Kim.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt my boss
Thanks,
for a
Dean.
moment. Since I'm the responsible party that handed these out, I just need you all to know that not all of these dates are correct. So, a few months ago, but it actually gives me a chance to grandstand in the board heard this week. I am a relatively new member to the league, and the thing that just totally amazes me is the breadth of activities that you can learn about. And the way that you learn about what's happening in terms of what you can attend is go to the calendar, and it's on page, it just pops up, depending upon your computer, in your face when you go into the league website. So they will have the right dates. And you can always email Jessica to find out. And my brain went click. Liz, I actually met you. I was one of like 20 people attending at my church at one of your prop talks. And I'm like looking at you when you're checking in, thinking, I've seen her, I don't remember where. And then as she's talking about that, you and I actually have this much of a relationship already.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, I'm going to talk about democracy dollars, and this relates to money in politics. So I want you to take a look at this. Starting at the top, this is how dark money influences politics. A corporation or rich person has political interests, and then moving clockwise, it donates money to a super PAC or a political nonprofit. That money buys flyers, robocalls, and issue-based ads. The ads lead to a candidate winning an election. And then they become a politician and they vote in support of the corporation's interests. And then the cycle just begins again. So I'm gonna play a video for you now that explains what the Democracy Dollars program is and how it can help address that issue. Back to the beginning. By the way, if you want to watch the video later at home, it's at the website democracydollars.info.
Our San Diego community is amazing.
Bye, boys. Have a good day.
We work hard. We take care of each other. We try to build a brighter future for everyone.
Fully charged.
And we come together to get things done. Sometimes, though, no matter how hard we work,
I really appreciate it. Hey, Amy, we are so happy you're running for city council.
we don't see our city make progress on the issues we care most about, from affordable housing to great schools to good-paying jobs.
And this is how you get there.
It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. Shall we go?
When we vote, we hope to give the keys to our community to leaders with the brightest minds and most commitment.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of City Council.
But with the amount of money needed to run in our local elections, candidates spend far more time fundraising than listening to voters. Too often, wealthy special interests try to pull our leaders off track. And we pay the price. But it doesn't have to be this way. We deserve leaders in City Hall who take direction from the people they serve. There's an innovative way where candidates can listen to the whole community while running for office, rather than just to big money groups.
A community infrastructure forum, I can do that.
And then we go to the pancake breakfast.
We need to bring small donor financing to San Diego City elections and put candidates who respond to voters in the driver's seat.
Democracy dollars. It makes sense.
Here's how small donor financing works. As an eligible voter, you would receive 4 Democracy Dollar certificates worth $25 each to give to the candidate or candidates of your choice at the beginning of each election cycle. Your Democracy Dollars help the candidates you like best to run for office and limit the influence of powerful special interests. A similar program in Seattle is transforming local elections, boosting voter turnout, increasing the number of voters who contribute to candidates, limiting the influence of the wealthiest donors, and encouraging candidates from all walks of life to run for office. By allowing candidates in our city to run for office without having to depend on big, outside corporate sources of money, we can keep our elected officials accountable to us. Candidates can only accept your Democracy Dollars after qualifying and agreeing to additional campaign finance rules.
That sounds good. So here's one for now. And I'll see you at the candidates forum.
Oh, absolutely.
Democracy Dollars encourage candidates and their communities to connect, because every event, from knocking on doors to pancake breakfast to public forums, is now an opportunity to earn votes and collect Democracy Dollars to fuel their campaign.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of City Council.
Congratulations.
Join us, make your voice heard, and let's work together to bring Democracy Dollars to San Diego, returning power to the people and driving us forward. Find out how we can do this at democracydollars.info.
Okay, so, I don't know. Okay, Democracy Dollars are good for voters because they engage more San Diegans in the democratic process by making it possible for every voter to be a campaign donor. It increases voter choice by providing qualified candidates the opportunity to compete for municipal office. It improves transparency by informing voters, providing easy access to campaign finance summaries and electoral information in real time. So, as you saw in the video, what was done in Seattle was 4 $25 vouchers for every eligible donor. And note that that doesn't say eligible voters, it says eligible donors. So it could be that all residents can participate in this process, even if they're not voters. All local candidate races would be included. So that would be mayor, city council, school board, city attorney, and more. The Oakland measure included popular sweeteners like a campaign contribution limit, increased transparency for independent expenditures, etc. Funding comes through either an assigned tax or the general fund. So here's a proposed timeline. Early thinking is when a coalition starts meeting and setting groundwork for Democracy Dollars, including beginning conversations with other groups, elected officials, and policy consideration. Then the build out. We convene potentially interested community organizations, establish broad, diverse steering committee that reflects the city. And then convene and policy, develop a steering committee, polling, make policy decisions, begin engaging members of council and mayor, ideally include Democracy Dollars questions in field programs. So this is the stage we're at right now. We have a steering committee. MapLight has put up $50,000 for polling. So we'll be getting some information over the next few months about what San Diegans would want to see. Next, determine if it makes sense to try and push Democracy Dollars, begin bringing in other community groups and stakeholders who could ally. And finally, campaign and win. If determined that Democracy Dollars is the goal, go hard. Campaigning, continuing to build out coalition and bring in more and more community groups to win. So the plan for San Diego right now, tentatively, is to have it on the November ballot in 2026. It's a slight possibility it could happen this year. On the steering committee is the League of Women Voters of San Diego, Common Cause California, Represent Us, San Diegans for Justice, Viet Vote, Engage San Diego, and Organize Communications. We have volunteer opportunities and no experience is needed. We have teams that meet once a month. There's the political team, the policy team, comms and organizing, and the polling team. There will also be some in-person meetings held March 26 and 27. So that's it for my topic. If you want to volunteer for this or learn more, come up to this corner during the breakout sessions. And Sheila Toll is next.
So I was asked to talk about being a poll worker and also a poll watcher. So these are positions that you're actually working on election day. Okay, so not league, but in general. So poll worker, the easiest way on this, and I've done poll worker, so if you have specific questions, Jane has done the poll watcher, that's what it's called. You'll see the next slide. Rather than go through all the details, SanDiegoVote.com is the place. You'll see on the drop down there's poll worker and all the details around it. If you are bilingual, they will send you if you sign up for this. Okay, bilingual, and not just with Spanish, they're looking for a whole variety of languages. So if you're bilingual, please do. Your commitment to do it is there's a training that's a couple days that will be in February. So for March, it's basically the month before the election. So you can sign up for March, or if you're like, I can't do that, but I want to do the general election, you can totally do that. You don't have to, there's not a prereq for any of this. There's a couple day training. They try and get you to train with your precinct where you're going to be actually working, and they try and have you work close to where you live. So like they are getting rid of every hurdle you could throw at them. Then you can either do a 4-day polling place or a 10-day. Hot tip. 4-day. Start with a 4-day. The 10-day is brutal. The 4-day is tough too, and I'll tell you why. So you do get paid. Okay, so it's $16 an hour as you start, okay? So you will get paid. So you do have to go through the application process. Part of the training, one of the first things they do is like get your tax forms and all that stuff, okay? So if you do the 4-day, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is election day. You will be working full those days. On the Friday before, you have to do setup. They budget 4 hours. If you're with a really good team, you can crank it out in 2 and get paid for 4. And then on that Wednesday, you'll have a breakdown. Okay, same thing, you're just reversing the process. Election day, the end, so it starts at dark 30 and it ends when the polls close, plus anybody who's in line gets to vote. So you don't start closing until everybody votes. I was working up at UTC in the last election. We had a 3-hour wait when polls closed. We got out of there about midnight. So that day, you just like, it's a lot of coffee. What else can I tell you? So that's how much time it takes. Okay, so people still don't get the drill that you can vote on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So bring your knitting, bring your books, anything you can do, like just hanging out, because there's nobody, and then on election day, it's the deluge. ROV's trying to get more people to know, but that's a challenge. So the 10-day one, you can get like sweaters done if you know, okay? Full-on Christmas sock needlepoint, because there's a lot, like, there's a 10-day one in La Jolla near where I live, and they had one person. One of the days they only had one person, and you got a full staff. So kind of crazy. But you have to sign up for everything. It's not like I only want to work Saturday. Okay, but totally fun. Met some really cool people doing it. Okay, so the next one. Okay, it's poll monitors. That's the word I was looking for. So a poll monitor, nonpartisan, not affiliated with any party or candidate. Okay, A poll, if you use the words poll watcher or election observers, that can mean somebody who is assigned by a party or a candidate to watch the polls. You also have folks that work for a campaign that can come in and say who hasn't voted, like let me see your list, which is all totally above board you can do, but that's not what we're talking about. So we're talking poll monitors. Protectthevote.net is where you go. If you can't remember that or you don't see this, Common Cause, and they have a link that will take you here, okay? A variety of roles that they have. These are normally small, like a couple hours, 3 hours. If you're actually at a poll, you'll have a badge so that people know. They can also put you on call to send you to a poll that they've gotten a phone call saying there may be shenanigans, get there. In California, so I was talking with them, they said most of what they need, bilingual, once again, any language, and people on the phone. If you happen to have a law degree, call them because they've got a special job for you guys, okay? But they also would like people who can work the phones with people who call and say, I think there were shenanigans here, or this is what happened, okay? So there you go.
Great. So before we break into smaller groups, I want to say a couple of things. And the first is very important, which is we have sheets with the names of at least everybody who registered. And there are 5 columns, and if you would like to work on any of these, and we won't hold you to it, nobody's going to come running after you, so sign up for more. And what we do is we have Google groups and ways to communicate, and we'll be able to communicate information to you. We have your email from the sign-up process. But please, Jessica's going to come around, and we will have 1 copy up here. The other is, I think we have a handout that is it over? Which one? The one with all the election information. Yes, it's back there. Okay, let me hold this up. So try to grab one of these. I'm going to leave a stack here, and we'll put a stack up here. This has all of our email addresses and phone numbers. So if you're not sure, you want to ask more questions, and then it has a lot of general voter information. So I commend that to you as well. So now Kim is going to have a group up here. Julianne's already in front of her sign. Jean is going to do voter registration. Sheila's going to talk about speakers bureau because she's got a lot of experience with it, and I'll do candidate.
And then brochures about the league, all of this comes out. Lots of information.
Data that we're working with, then it's like, hey, let me get you an answer and I'll get back. And then you send the answer. 2 years ago, we had a list, all of us who were giving them kind of a share list. But I would say it's I just took a deep breath on purpose. I think a lot of people, probably at least but I mean,